From hidden coves and rum-soaked hideaways across the seven seas, welcome to Three Grog Night, your map to the myths, flavors, and lost treasures of Tiki. Pour yourself a grog, settle into the shadows of the bamboo bar, and join us for tonight's adventure.
Howdy and aloha, everyone. Welcome to Three Grog Night. We're mixing Tiki pop history, rum-fueled tales, and tropical vibes, one grog at a time. I'm Mike Gordon, and I'm joined as always by my fellow drinking companions, Jen and Jonathan.
Well,
Howdy.
Hello.
Aloha.
I promise I pressed record this time.
I see it's recording. It says recording, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that because I'm really excited to welcome our guest today. We're honored to be joined by Shag. Welcome to the show.
Aloha, everyone.
Third time's a charm. We are so excited to have you with us. So much to get to regarding you, but we have a tradition here at Three Grog Night where we show off our Tiki mugs, to start off the show, to introduce the show. So, Jen, we'll start with you. Do you have a mug this week?
I do. Let me grab him without knocking him over and breaking him. Y'all kind of saw him last week. And it's Pee-wee!
Right.
It's the Pee-wee mug. So this was done here in Texas, and it's dark in here, by Vassar. I can't reckon by made by Monkey Skull, and it was done by one of the local tiki bar owners, home tiki bar owners in the Houston area. He released these about a year or two, probably 2 years ago. Don't remember how much he made, but it's
huge.
Yeah, it's very tall.
It's you can see the state of Texas on there. So it's basically like the tiki that you see in Pee-wee's Playhouse. And then the back has the Playhouse door, and then, or maybe this might be the tiki you see in Back at the Beach. One of these is the tiki you see at the Playhouse, and one of them's the tiki you see in Back to the Beach. Oh, and then it's probably this one because it has the surfing bird.
Yeah.
Signed by it.
Tons of pop culture there.
I know it's very, very skinny.
Yeah.
And you would need, here you go. Size compared to my head.
A very, very long straw.
Yeah.
That's where the Scorpion Bowl straws come in, right, to play. Right?
I have a pack of 300 of them, so I'm ready.
That's awesome. Jonathan, what about you? What's your mug?
Sure. So I promise that I'm not going to keep doing this, but I again brought out a mug in honor of our guest. And this also, Shag, because you just got back from Japan, and I think this was an 06 Japanese release?
Yes. Yeah, those were only sold in Japan, but I got a few and sold them myself through Shag Mart at that time.
Excellent. I like it in part because I'm left-handed, and I like drinking out of the rounded bit, so I get to take nice photos with that guy. Don't have many handled tiki mugs.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think I have an early one by Derek, but that's, I think, about the only one that I have that has a handle on it.
Yeah, current mug makers really aren't doing handles.
Well, they do break easy.
Yeah. Somebody needs to jump on that market and be the handle mug maker.
Well, it does make it easier, I would imagine, to handle, even though, yes, I guess it would be something else that could break.
Well, a handled mug is usually for like a hot drink, so
yeah,
there aren't that many hot tiki drinks out there.
Yeah,
which I guess is why.
Just buttered rum.
Yeah,
I can think of.
Well, as we have found out on many of our shows, I don't mind sucking up to the guests. So I have, but this is actually the only. I was looking around. I was kind of surprised. It's the only Shag mug I have, but it is Chewbacca. from the Geeky Tiki Star Wars line, where there was 4 of them designed, I
Yes.
believe, and Chewbacca is my favorite, so I picked him up. I still have, and this is something I don't know if we've really mentioned this, but sometimes you guys do such great packaging with the mugs that it's hard for me to like want to dispose of these. Like, and then this one in particular, you've got your sort of hand in Chewbacca with the Chewbacca mug there, and the Millennium Falcon, I believe, is over here somewhere, and it just looks beautiful. And the packaging on this is really like worth keeping as well.
Well, it's funny when I submitted the packaging to Lucasfilm, they basically said, "Wow, this is so beautiful. Can you release these as prints?" So I did. I released the packaging as limited edition prints.
Nice.
And they gave me so much leeway. I got to invent my own non-canonical scenarios. Like Chewbacca and Han Solo happening upon a planet that has big giant Chewbacca tikis, which I don't think happens in anywhere in any of the movies. Or Darth Vader, coming upon himself as an enormous tiki on a strange planet. So it was pretty cool they let me do that.
Yeah, that is really cool. Because I was going to ask about, because this is the series done for Geeky Tikis, and yeah, I don't have all four, but I guess you could see the other. There's Chewbacca and Boba Fett, and or I guess we could just call him the Mandalorian now, and not Baby Yoda, and Darth Vader as well. Very and special edition of 500. So I guess there wasn't a lot of these made.
Yeah.
So I feel very fortunate to have my Chewbacca. Shag, do you have do you have a mug handy that you want to show off?
Sure. This is kind of a weird one, but this is called the Whitco Oceanic, which isn't really a tiki. It's more kind of like modern art. But it's Polynesian and weird, and it has a lime green interior. And this looks a lot like my house. My house is kind of tikis, 60s, 70. I don't know. It's a weird one, but I like it.
Yeah.
It looks perfectly shaped for a Mai Tai.
Yeah, you got to drink out of the corner, though. Because it's got straight sides. It's square.
Right.
It's hard to drink out of a square glass, actually.
Yeah. Do you have a pretty extensive tiki bar in your house?
I don't have a tiki bar in my house. And the house I'm in right now is at the beach. I also have a home in Palm Springs in the Royal Hawaiian Estates, which is a completely tiki-themed complex. It's 40 units built around 2 swimming pools designed by one of the famous Palm Springs architects. And in the last 15 years, they've been bought up by tiki lovers. So I would say at least 60% of the people who live there now are tiki people. So they've built their own little tiki fantasies, and it's a very social place. We have parties, luau's, poolside movies. It's really fun, and it's cool to have a place in there.
Wow.
That sounds like an amazing community.
It is. It's really one of a kind, I think. I don't think there's any other like condo complex on Earth that's just a collection of tiki freaks.
Wow. That kind of really feels like, that's one of the things that I think Walt Disney was trying to do with Epcot, except for not just tiki people, but for like the world, right? Like to build like communities like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, again, we are honored to be joined by you. So much that we want to get to, but I think we'll just start at the beginning. I'd love to hear your sort of artistic origin story.
Well, I was a commercial illustrator and graphic designer in the record industry. I had a love for tiki. I'd been collecting tiki stuff since I probably started around 1983 or 1984. And I had 2 friends, and we thought we were the only 3 people on Earth who collected tiki. And then one day I heard about this guy in Venice, California, who had these backyard tiki mug parties. And I was like, there's somebody else into tiki. So I wrangled my way to an invitation to this guy's party. This guy's name was Otto von Stroheim. He had just launched a little fanzine called Tiki News. A few years later, he'd launch a Tiki event called Tiki Oasis. But at the time, he was sort of my entree into other people who like Tiki. When I went to his party, I met Sven Kirsten that night. Sven is the author of the Book of Tiki. I met Beach Bumberry, a renowned mixologist in the Tiki world, all on that same evening. In fact, we all met each other for the first time that night. So I thought I was going to have a career as a graphic designer and illustrator. And then Otto called me up one day and said, I booked you an art show. You have to make some paintings. And I looked around my apartment and thought, nobody's going to buy these paintings. So these paintings are going to go in my apartment. And what kind of painting do I want to create? And those were the first 5 Shag paintings. So this art show was really just one wall of a coffee house in Santa Monica. But it turned out people liked the paintings and they bought them. And that sort of launched my career as a painter and fine artist. And it just sort of grew from there.
Wow. Your love for Tiki, did it come from, was it specific or was it just part of a love of all things sort of retro?
Well, no, I think it was because I spent the first 8 years of my life in Hawaii, in Waikiki. So, I think there was something deep down inside me that was drawn to that. Maybe it reminded me of my childhood. Maybe because I'd grown up in sort of Polynesian pop, it was just part of me. But, Tiki was in fact, I remember the first time I sort of, I was probably in my late teens or early 20s, I went to Disneyland. And outside the Jungle Cruise, they had this marketplace, and they sold little Easter Island heads, and they sold Tiki necklaces. And I bought a Tiki necklace because it reminded me of my childhood. And that was the first thing in my collection of Tiki.
Wow. Do you still have it?
I do.
Nice. Yeah. One of the things I'm looking forward to, well, first of all, we're really looking forward to having you back at DragonCon this year. And in fact, because of you and some of the other guests, Jeff Granito as well, I've decided to theme this year's Tiki Pop Art panel on the connection between Tiki Pop Art specifically and Disney, because it does seem like there's a great level of influence going both ways as far as that goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
another big Disney influence on me were the attraction posters. The ride posters.
Yes.
Those were silkscreen prints, and that's one of the big reasons that all of the prints I do are silkscreens as well.
Oh, nice. Wow, I hadn't made that connection, but yeah, that does feel like, because a lot of your stuff does feel like that sort of same attraction, attraction posters.
Yeah.
From back in those days. I don't know. Do we? There's one that I'm specifically thinking of for the Tiki Room that is so embedded in my brain that but I don't know who the artist for that was. I don't know who the artists on a lot of those were.
Yeah, the artists on those posters they weren't signed, and and it was Imagineers, I think, who were doing them. So there was a whole team of Imagineers, and I would guess that more than one person worked on each of those posters.
Mm-hmm. So the first sort of your first foray into doing the paintings, how close of your current style would you say those were? Were those pretty much were those pretty recognizable as your style? Or
yeah, definitely they were the kind of classic Shag style. It's something I'd used occasionally in commercial illustration. I worked in a lot of different styles. And it's based on some jazz cartoons from the 40s and 50s and some sort of avant-garde animation from the 50s and 60s, maybe some TV commercials and ads and stuff. But if you look at those first 5 paintings, they definitely look like Shag paintings. Nice.
I'm sure I have a number of your collections, books, hardcovers of your artwork. So I don't know if any of those are if those first 5 are included in those, but
yeah, they're in some of my books.
Awesome, because I enjoy so much looking at it, and you produce so much. You're also pretty prolific. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a sort of count on how many sort of releases you have each year?
No, but I release it. I release at least one new print every month, sometimes
Okay,
two a month.
gotcha.
So I would say probably 12 to 16 prints every year.
Wow. The I think it was a new print, but I just the one that you just had that was I think released for or issued for this year's San Diego Comic-Con, which was
Yeah.
was that the Lord of the Rings one, inspired
Yes.
one? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was very very cool looking. And also probably I don't know if you're planning to do a new one for Dragon Con, or if would be certainly applicable for Dragon Con as well, I would think.
Well, I designed the hotel key cards for this year's Dragon Con,
Oh,
and the
that's
5
awesome.
cards
Damn,
make up one long panorama.
now I'm gonna have to try and get all of them. Damn it. That's
Oh
so
wait,
hard to do.
yeah. Did you say it's going to be one long panorama for all
Yeah,
the
if you put all 5 key cards together, it will make one long horizontal image, and it's sort of like a futuristic version of what Atlanta's going to look like when we're all riding around in flying cars
Awesome. That
and
sounds really
jetpacks.
cool.
Excellent.
And hopefully you'll have prints of those same things at your available.
Yeah, I'm going to release it as a print at Dragon Con. I don't know how many of them I'm going to do yet or how I'm going to actually do that release, but it will be a print as well.
Oh, this will be your, I think, third or fourth Dragon Con, is that correct?
Third Dragon Con, yeah.
Yeah, very excited because I know that you joined us a few years ago for, I think, what was our second Tiki Pop Art panel that we ever had. So we're now doing, I think this year is 11th. So
Wow.
it's been a great tradition to do that and to sort of have you return. We're very excited for that.
Well, I remember the 2010 panel.
Yeah.
You know, which was my first time at Dragon Con, and we're all in a room, and there's, I don't know, 6 or 8 Tiki artists, Tiki people up on stage, but there was no moderator. Like whoever was supposed to moderate the panel got the time wrong.
Oh, goodness.
And then after about 5 minutes of silence, I just got up and said, well, let's just start this thing.
Well, that was prior to my being involved there, because
I'm sure it's a lot more smooth now that you're involved.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but we try.
But there's at least a moderator now.
There is at least a moderator. So I do pride myself on being at all of them. So so that's good. And do you know if you're going to I imagine you'll have a booth or some kind of table at in Artist Alley. Will it be sort of a mini Shag store or?
No, I'm not even sure if I'm going to have a table, but if I do, it'll probably be just like a signing and meet and greet location.
Gotcha.
And if I release the key cards as a print, that'll be where I release it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot to carry from. I mean, even we talk to artists all the time, and especially when you're coming from, the West Coast, it's just not. It's hard to travel with all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't sell anything myself. Like I've never been set up to sell or vend myself.
I see.
Which was a decision I made really early on when I started painting. I said, I don't ever want to sell anything myself, so. It's always gone through a gallery or the Shag store in Palm Springs. So like I wouldn't even know how to sell it if I were sitting at the table. I don't know how to take a credit card.
Well, if you need someone to handle all that for you too, just let me know. So,
Yeah, because you're not busy enough at con, Mike.
I know,
You
right?
and your 17 panels.
I would make time. So, when did you get involved? Sort of. So you had the paintings. Was there a moment when you were designing your first Tiki mug, and what experience was that like?
Yeah, that was around 1999. I noticed that a couple people were making new Tiki mugs. The very first sort of artist in the Tiki revival who made a Tiki mug was Bosco. But he was sculpting his by hand, and firing them. And then uh, um, Monk Tiki came along
Right.
and started making mugs. And when I saw that, oh, somebody has the technology to make tiki mugs in this day and age, I thought, well, I want to make a tiki mug. So I contacted a friend, Holden Westland, who he had this company called Bachelor Pad, which I don't exactly know what they did, but I told him I want to make a tiki mug. And he said, okay, let's do some tiki mugs. And so he started a company called Tiki Farm to make tiki mugs. And now Tiki Farm is the world's largest manufacturer of ceramic novelty drinkware,
It
aka
is, yes.
tiki mugs.
Absolutely. I had no idea you were there from the beginning of that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I knew him from a couple of his previous ventures before he started Tiki Farm.
Wow. And so the process of because I would imagine, I don't know how much experience you had with sort of 3-dimensional products, but certainly creating something like a tiki mug is a little bit more difficult than something just 2-dimensional, correct?
Yeah, especially because my art is completely flat and 2-dimensional. So translating things into 3 dimensions is always a little bit of a struggle for me. And usually what I end up doing is drawing like a front view, side views, back view, top view, bottom view, like a blueprint, and then have somebody else sculpt it, make changes or edits on the sculpt, and then that's what's used to make the tiki mug.
Gotcha. Do you remember what was when and what was the first mug that you made?
Well, I actually released 5 mugs
Okay.
at the same time. A set of 5 mugs. I think it was the year 2000. They were limited edition. I think we did maybe 100 or 150 of each, and they came with a little certificate of authenticity. And at the time, we priced them at I think they were like $60 or $70 a piece, which was outlandish back then for a tiki mug. You know, I remember thinking like, this $70 for a tiki mug, weird. You know, that seems really high, but they sold out immediately. Now it's not unusual to see a tiki mug going for $200 or $300 upon initial release.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, $700 or $800.
That's true. And well, I mean, it's true of the, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to turn into one of those grumpy old men that just back in my day,
Well, when I first started collecting tiki mugs back in the 80s and early 90s, I had a $5 rule. I wouldn't pay more than $5 for a mug, And back then they were all vintage mugs. You were getting them in thrift stores and flea markets. And I passed up some great $7 mugs that I really kicked myself for not buying at the time.
Sure.
Does looking back, because you were, I think that was, so that's when there was a revival, right? Because the original classic tiki pop art, actually I think it was just mainly just called, not even pop art at that point, but back in, when the first like On the Beachcombers were starting up in the 40s and whatnot, and 50s, and then it sort of went away a little bit, and then it sort of came back in a big way, an artistic way, and folks like yourself were very much inspired by everything retro, as well as including the tiki movement as well. And it just seemed like things really, really took off from there, and we've been still looking at it from there.
Yeah. When something goes away and it's hard to find, that's very intriguing. So in the 1970s, tiki bars kind of became passé. Most of them closed down. A few of them, plugged on and remained. So, you'd go into a thrift store and you'd find a tiki mug from some bar you'd never heard of, and it was like Sven Kirsten calls it, being an urban archaeologist. These were artifacts from a previous civilization, even though the civilization was only from at that time, 20 or 25 years before, it was like, digging in an archaeological site, trying to find something related to tiki. And that was part of the excitement back then.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, that's because yeah, a lot of people don't understand, but that's when that was before the internet, way before the internet, or any sort of like national ways of communicating. So really, if you like something and you couldn't find somebody on a local level that liked it too, you had no idea how many other people were out there.
Yeah, yeah. And when Otto von Stroheim started the Tiki News, which was the world's first Tiki magazine or fanzine, he started that in, I don't know, 1994, I think.
Mhm.
You know, and then suddenly he had like 1,000 subscribers. So we knew, oh, there's 1,000 people on Earth who are interested enough in Tiki to subscribe to this little, you know, photocopied fanzine, which was really exciting because, like I said, at one time I thought there were only 3 people on Earth who cared about Tiki.
Sure.
Well, speaking of, being the modern day urban archaeologist going out and collecting, did you ever think that your work was going to be those things where people are out there searching for?
Not really. You know, I mean, as an artist, you hope people will place value on your artwork, but, you know, I didn't know that it would turn into what it turned into, which is exciting as an artist, you know, that to see that people value your stuff and seek it out, and that it's become collectible. It's gratifying. And the other thing that I can't believe is that my career has lasted this long, because I had my first art show in 1996, and I thought if I was really lucky, I might be able to make I might have a 10-year stretch where I could make a living as an artist. Because a lot of artists who I knew who had kind of come up a few years before me, they kind of had a short career lifespan. So I was thinking, well, you know, I don't think this is going to last very long. And here it is 30 years later, and I'm still making art, and people are still collecting it. So it's been a surprise, and it's been a delightful surprise, let's say, that I still am able to make a living doing this.
I'm
Well, you
I'm
obviously, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm kind of curious. You know, given that you've had such an awesome, lengthy career, do you tend to think of your work in different phases at all? Like,
I do, yeah. I think of my earliest work, which I think is a little more simple, a little more crude, um, a little more lowbrow, if that's the right word. And then it got a little. I became a little bit better painter, and the subject matter got a little deeper. And then I went through a period where things got a little darker, and I kind of went with that for a few years. And then after that, I kind of returned to kind of the classic Shag thing, which is what people think of now, you know, which is Palm Springs, mid-century modern, Tiki, cocktail parties, things like that. And now I just want to make art that makes people happy.
Well,
The principal person I want to make happy is myself, though. So if I do a piece and it doesn't make me happy, then it's not going to see the light of day.
So I was wondering if, like, how much of the work that you do, especially now, is projects that you personally just want to do, and I'm hoping that the answer is all of it.
Well, I would say about 95% of it. 95% of it is things I want to do, and then the other 5% is things like in Palm Springs, the Indian tribe that owns the casinos in Palm Springs asked if I would make some art for them, you know, and that's something like, it, you know, I want to support the tribes, and it'll be good exposure. It's not something I choose to do just on my own. So
Gotcha.
That's like the 5% of things that I'm sort of not something I actually picked.
So a lot of the pop culture things that you do, like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, these are things that are actually like interesting to you, that you want to bring to life.
Yes, yeah. If it's not something I'm interested in, I won't do it. And I've had a lot of studios or whatever approach me and ask me if I'll do art for certain properties, and if it's not something I'm interested in, I tell them it won't be a good piece of art. My heart won't be in it.
Hmm.
An
Has there
example,
been?
I mean, I know a lot of people love the Jurassic Park movies, and Universal approached me, asked me if I would do some Jurassic Park artwork, and I don't have anything against the movies, but they weren't a part of, they didn't really, they weren't important to me, let's say. So I told them no, and they seemed really confounded that I didn't want to do art, and it was for like the anniversary, and they seemed confounded that I didn't want to do Jurassic Park artwork, but it just wasn't right.
Sure.
Has there been any of the companies that you have worked for that when they approached you, you were pleasantly surprised that they
Yes,
wanted
well,
to work with you?
the second company that approached me to do work was Disney, which, I mean, that's like the dream,
Yeah.
And I've been hearing for a while, people would come up to me and they'd say, hey, I work at Disney and my boss wants to work with you. And I'd say, well, have your boss call me because I can't call Disney. And I got the call one day. It was Disneyland was celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Enchanted Tiki Room. And they wanted to know if I would create art and clothing and merchandise for that anniversary. And that was like the dream project. If you could have told me there was going to be one project I could work on, that was it. That was such a huge thing for me. And that led to, a lot of other Disney artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Is there still a project out there that you're hoping to one day be able to tackle over a property?
Yes. Yeah, I want to do some Tim Burton stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to do Edward Scissorhands. I'd like to do Beetlejuice, but I want it licensed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do an official Pee Wee Herman thing.
Oh, yes.
I used to see Paul Rubens around in LA, and every time we'd meet, I'd say, I want to do a Pee Wee, piece of art. And he'd say, I want you to do a Pee Wee piece of art. And then I'd talk to his agent, and his agent would be like, have you ever worked with Pee Wee, with Paul Rubens? And he said, here's how it's going to go. You're going to work on this project for like 2 years, and he's going to make changes every 2 weeks. And then at the end of 2 years, he's going to say, this is cool, but I have a new idea. Let's start over. And I was like, oh. Actually, two of his agents told me that. 2 different people told me the same thing. So
yeah,
I
after
never
watching
did.
the documentary, I can see that.
Yeah. But now that he's passed away, who's ever administering his estate, maybe they'll be easier to work with. So
yeah,
maybe I will do something.
That does seem like a very, very
natural fit.
Natural fit, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Although I'm still kind of in my head trying to picture what a Shag T-Rex would look like.
See, I'm picturing that it would be like the dino toy from Toy Story, Rex. Like that's what I would see.
I was kind of imagining it as a mini golf course.
Yeah. It's funny when I got married, I wanted to have our wedding at a miniature golf course.
Oh.
And I thought, the guests could play through and we could have the ceremony in front of the windmill. And I thought it was such a great idea, and my wife nixed it. But then years later, she was always like, man, we should have done that. That was so cool. And I should have pushed harder, I guess.
Well, it's never too late. You can renew it.
Hey,
Yeah, you can renew your
renewal.
vows there.
Well, we're separated now, so.
Well, yeah.
But we're on good terms.
Okay.
We have 2 great kids, and
That's good to hear. I was thinking about it too, and when you look at the items in the Shag store, it's not just prints, it's not just mugs, it's all kinds of items and pillows and furniture and everything, and that seems like there's no end to anything that you can sort of help design. Do you find those challenges just come natural to you, or?
Well, I mean, the merchandise and stuff, to me, I see that as like, not everyone can afford a Shag print or a painting, but everyone can afford a glass or some coasters, you know. So it's just sort of a way so people can have Shag stuff without having to spend a lot of money. But it also kind of turned into a happy thing where people would buy maybe a set of Shag coasters and then come in 6 months later and buy a print because they just, you know, it was like their entree into the world of Shag. But I do have, I mean, I do have limitations for things I'll put my art on. And I've always said it's got to be useful or it's got to be art. And there's this little valley in between those two things where there are things that are not useful and they're not art, and I will not design merchandise. A great example is a snow globe. There will never be a Shag snow globe because a snow globe is not useful and it's not art. It's kind of in that space in between. So something useful would be like a pillow or a tote bag or coasters. You can put a drink on coasters. Something not useful would be a snow globe. Something art would be a sculpture. A snow globe's not a sculpture. It's a tiny sculpture inside a ball of snow. But no Shag snow globes out there.
No Shag globes.
Yeah. And no Shag puzzles either. No jigsaw puzzles. There is one. Disney did an Enchanted Tiki Room jigsaw puzzle on that first project I worked with them. And then I saw somebody had glued it together and was selling it on eBay as a Shag print.
Ooh.
And I was like, that's it. There will never be another Shag jigsaw puzzle. And it's kind of stayed that way.
Gotcha.
Of course, when you die, your heirs or whoever controls your art will do it all. There'll be Shag jigsaw puzzles and snow globes galore.
Sure.
Well, that's when you tell the kids this, because this is in my will.
I
No
should.
puzzles
Yeah.
for
No
all
snow globes
perpetuity.
I'm kind of and sort of in this market too, where we see a lot of figurines, statues, action figures, whatever you want to call them. I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been any. I don't know if that's something you've sort of nixed as well, but I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I don't want to do figurines. I'll do toys because toys are useful and figurines are just, they kind of, to me, almost fall in that valley between art and usefulness.
Gotcha.
So there've been a few Shag toys, as it were. A couple of years ago, we released a girl on a scooter, but it's like a sculpture. It has a base, but you can take it off and play with it because the wheels roll, and you can change the pose of her arms and stuff. So to me, that was a toy and a sculpture. So it covered both categories.
Yes, I think my mother likes to refer to those items that you're referring to in that in between is as dust collectors.
Yeah. Well, it's funny at Comic-Con, I walked around on the exhibition floor, and there's so many companies selling figurines now.
Yeah.
And every single company that makes figurines seems to have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle license. So every single company that makes figurines is making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figurines for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there does there does seem to be a lot of those. And certainly, your experience at San Diego, when you go and you look, obviously San Diego has changed a lot over the years. Is there anything that do you go out and is there anything that you're a fan of, a collector of, that sort of gets you excited about going to things like that?
Well, the thing I usually buy art at the cons,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not looking for it. I just come across it and it's really cool, and I can't live without it, which I think is a great way to collect things.
Sure.
The other thing I do is I know a lot of people at the con, so I have to go to their booth and talk to them, and a lot of times they're not in the booth when I walk by, so I got to walk by 3 or 4 times until they're there. That's kind of the way I do the con.
Yeah.
Has there been an artist that you've discovered at a con that you weren't aware of their work, and then you've become a collector,
Yeah,
or if you, yeah?
yeah, definitely. There's a guy from Florida named Peter Santa Maria, and he was doing these woodblock prints, those old, like woodblock prints on Japanese rice
Mhm.
paper of Godzilla and Toho monsters,
Mm.
Ghidorah and stuff, and they were really good. And I saw him. The first time I saw him was at Designer Con. He had a little
Hmm.
booth, and then a year later he was at Comic Con. He had a little booth, and then he had a bigger booth and a bigger booth, and now he's a design director at Mondo, the
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
poster and toy company. Yeah,
wait, does that mean you're kind of working with him on
yeah,
a certain thing that's going to be released coming soon?
yes, yeah. He's the one who
So,
actually had the idea of this
here,
Jaws
I will
project
pop it up
that
on
we're working on
screen
with Mondo.
there. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
This looks amazing.
yeah. This was originally supposed to come out last year for the 50th anniversary of Jaws,
Mm.
but just the mechanics of the whole thing and the sculpt and trying to manufacture it has taken so long that it's the year after the 50th anniversary. So it's going to be a 51st anniversary release.
Well, I love the addition of the yellow buoy.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, and the box art for this, which they haven't introduced yet, is really cool as well. It's the scene where the shark's eating Quint. But when I first turned in my concept for the box art, Universal said, "This is too violent." Which I was like, "It's just a scene from the movie."
Yeah, have you seen your movie?
Yeah.
Everybody
said,
knows
"Can
this
you take out
happens.
the blood?" And I was like, "All right." So I took out the blood. It's less bloody than I originally intended. And the sculpt is less bloody too. There was more blood kind of on the shark, and so I don't know why they had an aversion to all the blood I intended to include on the project.
Well,
Do you,
I must
do you,
admit, when I think of Shag art, I don't think of bloody and violent. Those
Yeah.
aren't the first two words that come to mind.
well, hey, he did say he went through a dark period.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
But does that happen often with companies that that you're working on their licenses where they're like, okay, we need you to pull back?
Yes. Well, a lot of times, you'll turn in a concept and they'll say, "This is great, just go with it." And it used to be like that a lot more before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, all of the companies basically, they restructured. They're brand new people giving approvals, and I think they feel like they have to justify their job by pointing things out and making changes. So it's been a lot more of that since the pandemic. For example, I proposed a print for Lucasfilm, and it was the scene in Jabba's palace where Leia's wearing the gold bikini and Luke's down in the pit with the Rancor, and Lucasfilm said, "We're not depicting Leia in the bikini anymore in any art and merchandise. Can you take her out?" And I said, "No, I can't take her out. Like, people will look at this and say, 'Where's Leia?' It's like when somebody's missing a tooth, it's the only thing you notice." So that never came to pass. Disney the same way. They're a lot more nitpicky since the pandemic.
God, wow.
I mean, I have noticed a difference in the designs of the mugs at the Enchanted Tiki Bar.
Yeah.
There's a lot more characters.
Yeah, because
rather than just art.
Yeah, Disney thinks that tikis are sort of teetering on being cultural appropriation, and also Polynesian. Some Polynesian groups have trouble with alcoholism, so making a vessel that contains alcohol based on a tiki is also not cool. So that's kind of why they're dialing back on the actual tiki mugs. And I ran into that myself. I designed a tiki mug for Club 33, and they said, well, can it be a tiki mug that's not a tiki? So I had to redesign it. It turned into an alligator or crocodile. But that seemed weird to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Tiki's been such a big part of Disney. Walt Disney loved Tiki.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was a
Fortunately,
the Tiki room.
that phase, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of talk about Tiki being cultural appropriation, not politically correct or whatever. A lot of that's died down recently. I think people got tired of trying to cancel Tiki, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, well, every year when we've done our panel, especially the last 4 or 5 years, it always comes up.
Yeah.
You know, and look, I mean, we understand. I mean, it's something that you want to treat, respectfully, right? It's not something you just want to dismiss. But it's also really different to separate. Yeah, it's hard to, for those people who don't know, it's hard to separate sort of this tiki pop movement that you've been part of that has been around for the last 30, 40 years with the original sort of things that came out like in the 40s and 50s, right?
Yeah. And so when Trader Vic or Don the Beachcomber were building their bars and putting tikis in their bars, they didn't know the meanings of those tikis. They assigned meanings to those tikis, or they combined Hawaiian tikis with Maori tikis with Papua New Guinea carvings, and it was all this blend. And you could make a case that was cultural appropriation. But then 20, 30 years later, when artists like me are looking at those bars, that's another step removed from
Right.
what those tikis were originally
Mhm.
intended to be. But the biggest removal of the culture is the fact that the Polynesians, with the exception of the Maoris, weren't worshiping those gods anymore. Those gods had sort of been abandoned by those Polynesian cultures through force, mostly. Unfortunately, it was colonizers and missionaries who made them give up the worship of those gods. But those gods were no longer an active part of those Polynesian cultures, with the exception of Maoris, who continue to worship the same gods they worshipped pre-contact with Westerners. So that's why when I'm dealing with Maori stuff, when I'm painting Maori stuff, I try and be very respectful towards that.
Well, your time, I would imagine, growing up and sort of being in Hawaii, I would imagine would give you sort of a perspective there that I guess most outsiders wouldn't have.
Yeah, and in the late '60s and early '70s, when I was in Hawaii, Tiki was it was everywhere, and it was a marketing tool for everything. Tiki dry cleaners. Every resort had tikis. You went to the mall; they had tikis in the planting. Between the stores, it was just part of what Hawaii was in the 1960s and '70s.
And
And a lot, there's still a lot of it there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you were going to a lot of tiki bars, and I'm sort of wondering if you have any personal favorites, either that are still around or that are no longer with us.
Yeah. The first tiki bar I ever went to was the Tiki Tea in Hollywood. It's still around. It still has my favorite drink, which is the Race Mistake. And it's still one of my favorite tiki bars. Other favorites, I love the Mai Kai in Fort Lauderdale, which is the last remaining major tiki temple. Tiki temple being a word that Sven Kirsten came up to describe the enormous tiki bars that used to exist. Other favorites, I like, well, just for sheer cheesiness, I like the Tonga Room in San Francisco, which has the indoor lake, and a boat comes out on the lake, and there's a thunderstorm, and it rains, and then a band plays. That's such a cool thing that no tiki bar that somebody builds today is going to put in their tiki bar.
Right.
Yeah, especially since a lot of them so it seems like the more modern era of tiki bars are more fixated on the mixology and the drinks and not the dark atmosphere that I sort of associated with them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and
or theming. I mean, here, all of our new ones, it's, we just have we have a Scooby-Doo one.
oh yeah,
But yeah, that's,
yeah. They're adding a secondary theme. I have a friend who owns 3 tiki bars here in Southern California. One's a tiki themed tiki bar. One is a Goonies themed tiki bar,
oh,
and one is a Creature from the Black Lagoon themed tiki bar.
Nice.
So it's
all
weird
of that
how you
sounds
can,
great.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
like my home tiki bar is half pirate, and then has He-Man and Star Wars hidden amongst it, and then there's a Galaga machine. So
Yeah, that's great.
I mean,
I'm not, there's some people who are tiki gatekeepers,
Yes. Yes.
believe that certain things don't belong in tiki. And some of these people I really respect, but I'm less about gatekeeping and more about trying to throw the gates wide open so as many people as possible can enjoy it.
Yeah. I appreciate that too, because it's one thing, I think the geeky tikis are a perfect example of that, where a lot of, purists are like, oh, those are terrible. But the fact that, I did wonder if you got a little bit of heat from being part of those.
Not directly. And, one of Sven Kirsten's famous quotes is, "Star Wars is not tiki," but he never said anything to me when I did those Star Wars tiki mugs.
I was like, yeah, is he gonna say it to your face? And I could
Sven,
see Mos Eisley being kind of the tiki bar
Yeah.
of the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely. And, I have a difference of opinion about that with Sven. Sven also doesn't like tikis that are painted bright colors, but there's a place for that as well.
Yes, you're right. And I'm the one who, I don't like all the brown ones.
Yeah.
I think they should be colored. Yeah, everybody has the things that make them happy.
I remember I was being interviewed for a tiki documentary, a tiki mug documentary. It's called Kabali, and it was released earlier this year. And I sat down for the interview, and the interviewer said, we just interviewed Sven Kirsten, and we've interviewed Otto von Stroheim. And they both said one of the most important things in tiki is authenticity. And I laughed and I said, 180-degree opinion from me. I think there is no authenticity in tiki. The entire thing is inauthentic, and that's what I love about it, If you're going to be really authentic, then you're going to be delving into the mythology around those original tiki gods, and you're going to be, and that's not what tiki is about. It's about appropriating or appreciating, as I like to think of it, this tiki imagery and twisting it to be something else that's not authentic. Twisting a tiki god to be a ceramic vessel that you drink your cocktail out of,
It's
So
about
to me,
escaping reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiki is one of the least authentic things there is.
Yeah, and I definitely think by labeling it, in my mind, with the the moniker tiki pop art, sort of it makes that more clear than just using the short tiki word to describe anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, just while we had you, Shag. Somebody told me one time that the tiki bar is where the punks went when they stopped feeling like hanging out in the pit the whole show. And so on the back of that, I wanted to ask you about the Swamp Zombies and some of your early work in music and pre-tiki work. You want to talk about that era?
Well, yeah. In 1984, my brother and 2 friends and I formed a band, just as sort of like we were just fooling around one afternoon, and we put this band together, and we wrote 2 songs, and we learned 2 covers, and then we drove down to the boardwalk at Balboa Beach, and we bussed. We played these 4 songs over and over, and we made like $7 in change. So the very first day we got together, we were a working band. So we drove to the donut shop and we bought donuts with the $7, and it just kind of built from there. We put out a couple records, we toured, and then I was in some other bands as well. But it was always just kind of a fun thing. The band I was in after the Swamp Zombies was called the Tiki Tones, which plays upon my love of tiki. I wanted to be in a band that was all about tiki and nothing else. And that band put out a couple records. And then, I was balancing the art thing and playing music. And I realized that a human being only has so much creative energy. And all my energy was going towards the art. And the other guys in the band were just kind of dragging me along. So I told them, look, it's time for me to stop playing music. So they replaced me.
Did you do play any music at all lately, or just even for fun?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
One of the bands I was in reunited about 6 or 7 years ago to play a festival in Italy. And I loved reuniting with the guys, loved practicing, traveling, hanging out with them. But being on stage, I was just like, I was miserable, and I thought, this just isn't fun anymore. And I haven't played since then.
Gotcha.
When
The end of his music career.
Yeah. When you look back throughout the span of your career, you've obviously gotten more and more successful as you've progressed. Do you feel like you've gotten more creative freedom, or do you feel like you've gotten more expectations on your work, or kind of a combo of both?
No, I feel like I have gotten more creative freedom. Like 15 years ago, I never would have done a Star Wars piece of art, or a Scooby-Doo piece of art or something. Now I feel like those things I really love, I can incorporate them into my art, even if they don't seem like naturally it would make a fit. Lord of the Rings is a great one. There's nothing tiki or retro or mid-century modern about Lord of the Rings, but it's something I loved as a kid and something that was really inspiring to me. So I thought, how can I put this into the Shag world?
As far as your non-licensed stuff goes, I am curious, because certainly most of the material that I've seen you produce over the last, I'd say, decade or so, I think, as you mentioned, that you like producing things that makes people smile. And I find that, there's such a sense of humor in your work that I do often smile. And sometimes it takes me a little while because I'm looking at it and then I get the joke. But I do wonder, like, your artwork always seems to tell a story. The original artwork always seems to tell a story, and I'm wondering, does the story come first? Does the image come first, or how do you put those together with your original work?
It depends. Like, I have a list of ideas I want to do, things I want to paint or make prints of, and sometimes it will be just a story, and I don't know what that's going to visually look like. Like, a great example is at one of our events at the Shag store, a woman came in and she had broken off her high heel. So she was carrying her broken heel in one hand, but she still had the high heel on her other foot. And I thought, like, what if and I've never done this, but what if I painted a cocktail party where the house or wherever they were having this cocktail party had like a wooden deck or a flagstone floor or something, and all the women had broken their heels, So that's a story, I have to tell somehow in a piece of art. It's a story I haven't told yet, but I intend to tell it. And I have no idea visually what that would look like. Other times I'll see something visually and I'll say, I want to paint this thing visually. I have to make up a story about it. And the whole story thing comes about. I mean, in art school, we were taught, don't tell stories with your art, because that's illustration. And, don't put humor in your art, because art is very,
serious.
Yeah. They want it to be serious and avant-garde and stuff. And so when I had my first art show, I remember thinking, how am I going to get people to stand in front of these paintings and spend more than 2 seconds looking at them? And I thought, I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to set the story in the middle of a story arc. So most of my paintings and prints are set in the middle of the story arc. So something happened before, and something's going to happen after. So my hope was people would look at the art and say, what happened and what's going to happen? And that would engage them a little more. And I also like to put in a lot of times a B story, sort of a subplot, like something going on in the background, something you don't notice at first, so that even adds another layer where maybe I can keep the viewer attached to that piece of art for just a little longer. And that's the reason I started doing that.
I love that. I love that about the work, and especially your a lot of your cocktail parties remind me artwork scenes remind me of the same vibe that I get when I watch like Blake Edwards, the Peter Sellers movie, The Party. It just seems like that.
Yeah,
like
that movie was a big influence on me.
Yeah, I could tell. You got that same vibe going on there. Like something is always happening somewhere in that room.
Yeah, I love that film.
So I guess we're ready to wind down. Any last questions, Jen or Jonathan? Because this has been really cool, and of course we can't wait to see you in person at Dragon Con this year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I would say we touched a little bit on a bit of your nerdy side, but what would be maybe like your top 2 favorite geek properties of all time? Now, whether that's a movie, a TV show, it could be from childhood now.
Oh, favorite of all time.
Or just the one that really pops to your head.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes would be one of them.
Oh, the original, the new ones, all of it.
The original, yeah.
The original, yeah.
Especially the very first movie, the 1968 film.
Do you like current properties, or are you more of
I do like.
Yeah.
Like I did, a couple of years ago, I did a Guardians of the Galaxy print, which I mean, I guess it's not that current now, but when I did it, it was pretty current. It's something really cool. Like that's visual. It was a great movie, and the visuals were great, and so I wanted to do something with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I worked with Marvel on that.
Nice.
Oh, I only named one property that I love. Probably, I guess the James Bond movies of the 60s also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Because a lot of your work does have this element of like sort of the retro spy stuff.
Yeah.
Shaken, not stirred.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, I was probably 8 years old, my parents took me to my first like non-children's movie. And it was a double feature of You Only Live Twice and Thunderball, the James Bond movies. And that had such a huge impact on me because that was like my first view into, a movie made for grown-ups and, a lifestyle that was not a kid's thing, being a spy, traveling around the world, fighting supervillains, seeing these supervillain lairs, seeing all the gadgets and stuff. It was it had such an impact on me as a kid.
It's got that beautiful Mike Trim design, right, of all those sets and everything, and that's I could definitely see that connecting.
And the funny thing is, years later, I think like the villains always had the greatest architecture and interior design. Like, who are the architects designing these villains' lairs and do the super villains have to kill the architect afterwards because the architect knows all the secrets?
When they know the location, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, we appreciate you joining us from your super artistic villainy lair. And again, is there anything either before or coming up before Dragon Con or coming up that you want to promote as well?
Well, I'm going to be at Tiki Oasis, which is I believe it's the first weekend in August in San Diego.
Okay.
So if people are coming to Tiki Oasis and they see me, stop by and say hello.
Awesome. And of course, we have the links to shag.com and shagstore.com too, so people can check out all the current stuff that's going on with you. So thanks again, man. It's been a lot of fun having you on. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you in September.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'll see you guys in Atlanta.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's it. That's it for this round of 3 Grog Night. Don't forget to tip your bartender, especially if that bartender is you. We'll be back with more rum, more tiki tales, and more excuses to shake up something delicious. Stay groggy, my friends.
You've been listening to 3 Grog Night, your passport to paradise. Join us next time as we pour another round of tiki stories and exotic delights. Until then, mahalo, and may your nights always be grog-worthy.